All right, we're going to talk about your money this morning, and we have a live look at Washington, D.C. right here behind us.
Yeah, that is a beautiful look, but behind the scenes, it hasn't been so beautiful.
There's not much going on.
Anyway, financial expert Jenny Groberg is here to talk about how this shutdown could impact our own pocketbooks.
Yeah, and it is. So Congress failed to pass a funding bill, and so everything is shut down. And so what does that mean? The Senate was unable to find a common ground between the Democrats and the Republicans. So I'd like to hit kind of the 5 key sectors in our economy and how this shutdown will affect us.
Okay, yeah, let's run through them.
Okay, the first is travel and tourism, or tourism and outdoor recreation. So what does this mean for national parks? National parks brought in $3.1 billion last year. So it's imperative that those stay open, and the state is committed to keeping them open. So you're going to have the parks stay open, restrooms, trash collection, but you're going to have a reduction in staff. So you're going to see visitor centers closed, anything where there's large staffing. So just be aware of that. It could affect emergency services, so be careful.
So you could go to the national park essentially here in Utah,
yes,
but the visitor center may not be open, or some other services
right,
are just restricted.
Or emergency services, but trails are going to be open, roads, so you can access them, and the state is committed to keeping those open, even through the shutdown, depending on how long it lasts.
And just to inject right here, I think the longest one we've had, at least in recent memory, was like 35 days shutdown.
You're exactly right, Ron. It was 35 days in 2018. It's the longest it had ever been. The IRS said that they had over 500 million unanswered pieces of mail.
Oh,
so the problem is, in a shutdown, you come back and you still have the work that you have to catch up on.
Right.
And you're still required to pay those employees that were furloughed. So all it is a delay. They're still eventually going to get paid just for work that wasn't done, and it's just going to delay things.
Okay, so let's talk about social programs and workforce services.
Okay,
too.
so SNAP, which is the food stipend, Medicaid, child care assistance, all those things are expected to continue in the short term. However, funding could be jeopardized if it lasts much longer than a month.
So essentially, when it does come back, or like you said, if it lasts too long, then we're talking perhaps some big problems.
Where do we come up with that money? So there's something called the Inflation Reduction Act. So the IRS had that money come in, they reallocated it. So the IRS is going to stay open, of course.
Of course.
for at least 5 days, they have the funding to do that, but they will end up having to furlough their employees as well. But those assistance programs, those will remain open in the short term. Hopefully it doesn't last more than 35 days.
Okay, air travel, and of course security is a big thing, but some of those workers are reporting without being paid either.
Yeah. So these emergency services, military, police, things like that will have to stay open on kind of a skeleton crew. You're going to see the same thing at the airport. So the TSA, FAA, customs agents, those are all going to still be there. Probably a reduction of staff, so you're going to see long lines, and you got to make sure that you just expect those service delays. Because they're furloughed, they're not being paid. They're still showing, some of them are still showing up. They will be paid, but just not in the interim.
And when we talk about public safety, obviously like a lot of, state and local, like police departments, fire departments, that's generally state funded, but we're talking about our troops as well.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of public safety aspects that are on the federal side.
There's a lot of public, and we'll talk about that. So the next one is the military, veterans, and public safety. So the shutdown could mean that you're not paying your troops. It could mean a disruption in services for seniors and veterans, but we've got first responders that aren't going to be paid. So it's a big deal for everybody in the state and across the country.
Okay, maybe some tips for folks who are furloughed.
Okay.
What do they need to do?
Okay, so I had a neighbor email me yesterday. It was sent across the neighborhood, and they said, this 24-year-old neighbor of ours works at Hill Air Force Base. He's been furloughed. He's willing to do yard work, lawn care, any projects that you need help with. He needs employment right now because he doesn't know how long the furlough will last. So I was really proud of him that, the shutdown happens yesterday and he is on it. So I would say immediately start looking for other work, something temporarily that you can use to pay your bills. You don't want to end up putting a few $1,000s on your credit card that you're having to pay off. So do whatever you can right now to get to work.
How much understanding will there be for people who, I am furloughed, I can't pay my rent this month? I mean, what does the landlord say to that? I mean, there's all types of different scenarios people could find themselves in.
Right.
And what do you say? Like, you can't just blame Congress. I mean, I guess you can, but no, nothing's going to be done about it.
I mean, a lot of times you're going to have to pay your rent regardless. You're going to have to figure that out. So it is a problem. It is affecting everybody. You know, hopefully those essential services like SNAP and Medicare and Medicaid and all these things will continue so that we don't see an impact on the really low income people in our state. And our state has said we are willing to step in and help if needs be, but that, you know, that's a huge burden to the state. But that is kind of the next step.
Yeah, there's got to be a point though where lawmakers say, okay, we just got to go ahead and
they have to come together.
You know,
yeah.
I doubt very much they will let it drag on and drag on.
So
I mean,
yeah.
Politically, you know, they're trying to stand their ground right now
Right.
to prove their point or
Right.
to make a point.
And a lot of it has to do with health care. And the Democrats
Yeah.
are trying to extend that, and the Republicans are saying no. And then the Senate is unable to bridge that and bring them together. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Jenny, thank you for coming in and educating us a little bit.
Thanks for having me.
Yep.